As a part of our new Cornell Cooperative Extension Marine Program's digital education program, we have started a new video podcast series called Cornell Marine Program's Digital Learning Podcast. This is our 7th show, and my name is Rory MacNish. I am CCE's multimedia specialist. Hey, Mark, guess what I got?
Hey, Rory, what do you got?
I got what you asked me for.
A horseshoe?
Yeah. This is a horseshoe, right?
I don't remember asking you for a horseshoe.
Yeah, you did.
We
were
did?
prepping the show, and you said, "Do you have a horseshoe?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm building a whole pit in the backyard. I'm gonna make a pit, and I'm gonna record it. I'm gonna do a vlog, my own personal vlog on it, and post it on my YouTube channel."
I think I meant a horseshoe crab, Rory, not a horseshoe.
Well, I guess that makes sense because we do marine topics, right?
Yeah, well, I like your horseshoe.
All right.
You should probably put that in your new garage project there.
Sounds good. I think you know what? These are my father's, actually. My dad was an avid horseshoe thrower, at work and at home. And he would throw one, and he would yell, "Knish," and it would come down and it would go fagoom right on the pole,
Yeah, that's a great sound when it hits that pole. Ding!
Ding, it's cool. So,
hey, I'm really looking forward to the show today, Rory.
Hey, let's see if we can get Dr. Matt Sclafani from Cornell Cooperative Extension, our coworker here, the mad scientist. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Rory. Hey, Mark. How you guys doing?
Hey, I like the beard, man.
Oh, thanks. I trimmed it down. I was getting a little.
Did you really? Oh,
it was.
I know, me too.
Pretty nappy looking. I had people commenting on it besides my wife.
Yeah, it's the COVID grow.
That's it. I said I wasn't going to shave it until I got my antibody
We're done.
test. Yeah, until I got the antibody. Oh, geez, I don't want to. They wanted my antibody test, but it would be a long time before it's done.
I know, right? Yeah, you'd be like Letterman.
Oh yeah, you look
Letterman.
Like. Yeah, that's right. He went rogue, man.
He went rogue.
That guy went totally rogue.
Oh my God.
Jeez, that's so true. Letterman.
Yeah. I love your headlamp.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's special. This is actually a really important piece of equipment on our field work, and I thought I'd wear it, talk to you guys a little bit about some of the stuff I'm doing out in the field, and show you some of the tools that we use. They're really actually quite simple.
You'll actually, Mark, he'll actually highlight what he's doing with that headlamp.
Well,
come on. It's a joke.
Okay. Well, man, I thought you had the flashlight on your head. I thought you were expecting a power failure or something.
Yeah, right. No power failures here. This is just what we use in the surveys that we do. Obviously, we're not doing them during the daytime. Otherwise, we wouldn't be using them. But we use them at nighttime. So it's a whole different approach to going out and sampling in the marine environment. Most people go out in the day. We go out at night.
So you're looking a little ragged, though, Matt. Is that because you're running around chasing horseshoes at 1 a.m., or is that because you got some little children that you're taking care of?
It's actually a really good question. It's a lot of both. Yeah, we're busy at Cornell, obviously still trying to do our field work. This year we can't, unfortunately, get volunteers to participate with us, but we're still having staff go out in a limited capacity, and we're still going out at midnight, 2 a.m, trying to count horseshoe crabs. And then, of course, I have little kids that are waking me up in my house that sometimes having bad dreams at 3 or 4 a.m.
Oh, man.
So, it's homeschooling, everybody's going through it. I'm not alone, but, definitely looking a little ragged. So the shaving has tapered off.
Well, thanks for giving us your time.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Yeah, it's all good, Matt.
Thanks.
So, Matt, you mentioned going out on the beaches at night. Now, does the moon have anything to do with your horseshoe crab project?
Yeah, actually it does. The moon is very important to the horseshoe crab life cycle during the spawning season. They're really synchronized to spawning with the new and full moon periods. So if you were to go out at nighttime on your local beach or your creek, you would probably see your highest chances of finding horseshoe crabs are during the high tides at nighttime, right around the new and full moon. So they really synchronized. They've been doing that for 450 million years, and it seems to work. So
cool. Now, do you have other equipment other than the headlamp that you go out and use for doing what you do?
Yeah, there's lots of different equipment. Let me just take the headlamp off here and
Oh no, I love that.
oh, sorry.
now, now you got a little
I get a
square
little
on your
square in my
head.
head. Okay. That's a rite of
cool.
passage.
That's right.
There you go.
Doctor stuff.
That's right. PhD stuff. So we've got here just the simple ways. First, when we go to the sites, we just measure the environmental variables, like what's going on out there. Is it windy? Are the waves rough? One of the things that's really important to a lot of marine species is temperature. So we have here a little probe that we put in the water, and we just measure the water surface temperature right at the spot where we're going to monitor. That's the first measure we do. Let's see, the ball and string that we measure the offshore distance, so we can estimate how far we can see the crabs offshore.
Well, cool.
Yep.
So Matt, have you found any correlations between water temperature or wind speed as far as the horseshoe crabs being on the beach?
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of correlations. They tend to start becoming active when the water temperature hits about 11 or 12 degrees Celsius.
So what's that about Fahrenheit?
It's in the 50s.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
like 20 to 68. So
not swimming weather.
Yeah, not swimming weather. Not swimming weather.
Okay.
It's a pretty important temperature. 12, 11. They start to become active. You can see them. You won't see them actually before that water temperature starts to warm up. So we try to aim our seasons usually in May and June based around those temperatures. And right now it's been a very cold year. Cold spring. It was a warm winter, but it's a pretty cool spring. And what we're seeing is that the spawning was really delayed as a result of that. And it was also very windy. So if it's very windy at the local beaches, the horseshoe crabs don't want to come up onto the beach to spawn. They will stay in the submerged environment until the night is calmer and then spawn at a later date. So it's been a very windy, cool year for the springtime. So that's what we're seeing right now. So we do temperature, and then we also have here, this is a handy dandy wind meter. So we just take the wind at the site. Often that's correlated to the conditions at the waves and the wave height. And so pretty simple measure. Obviously today everybody has iPhones. So a lot of times we just use our iPhones to get the environmental conditions on our weather app. But these are the environmental measurements that we take.
I like your vest. Is that part of the setup too?
Yeah, that is. This is actually sometimes it's kind of nice because it leaves your arms kind of free and mobile. It's cooler at night, so this is kind of a little bit insulated. I actually use waders most of the time, but if I don't have waders, I'll wear something like this. It's definitely pretty handy, and I've used it from everything from monitoring horseshoe crabs to doing yard work.
There you go.
There you go.
Get a lot of use.
Nice. Yeah. That's cool.
So how many pockets does that vest have?
I don't know. I haven't really counted, but quite a few.
That's great.
It's probably got at least 8 or 10.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Where's my cell phone?
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah, you said you wore like waders and stuff like that. What other equipment might you have?
Okay, so when we actually start collecting data outside of the environmental stuff, when we start getting into the biological data, so we're trying to count the number of horseshoe crabs on the beach. One important thing that we have are data forms that are like right here. So we go out and we survey the horseshoe crabs. This is actual data from West Meadow Beach, which is not too far from Stony Brook University. And I spend a lot of time in this area myself. And it's a beach that I monitor because I live not too far from it. But we also, besides collecting data on these data forms, I use pencil. Obviously, another very important tool of the trade. And we do the counts, we do the tallies of the male and female horseshoe crabs. And then we also do some tagging. So after we do the counts, I'm just going to put this down real quick. We actually do what's known as putting on conventional button tags.
Oh, so cool.
This is a set of the tags that are in order. They each have a identification number, and we put these on the left side of the horseshoe crabs. On their carapace, we just attach it. We drill a little hole in with a drill. That, and before we put the tag on, we also measure their size with these calipers. As you can see, these calipers are kind of large.
Wow, those are huge, Matt.
Yeah, they're meant to measure centimeters. We get some females that are pretty big, 28
Huh.
and above, 28
Okay.
centimeters and above. But most of the times, we're catching crabs that are in about the range of 22, 9, 18, 20, 22. But we measure the size of the carapace, and then we
It,
put the tags on.
it sounds like the female is bigger than the male. Is that correct?
Yeah, the females are sometimes twice the size of the male, or even larger.
Wow.
There is that's known as sexual size dimorphism, quite common in the animal kingdom, and you'll see it in other species as well. But the females carry the eggs, and
Hmm.
so that extra size is to allow for a larger capacity, probably, of eggs. It's also believed that since they carry the males on their backs around them, the males are attached to the females during the mating season. It's a process known as amplexus, that they have that exercise to help carry them around. So yeah, it pays to be bigger when you're the female.
There you
Dr.
go.
Matt, does one quick question. I saw the drilly thing, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Does that hurt the horseshoe crab at all?
No, not at all. Their exoskeleton, or their carapace, which is the outer
Hmm.
skeleton in the horse crab, it's kind of like a fibrous material, sort of maybe like your fingernail,
Right.
chitinous material, and it doesn't seem to affect them at all. We've had horseshoe crabs that we've had tags in them that we've gotten recaptures on them maybe 8 years down the road. So we
Wow.
know that it doesn't have an effect on them, and there's been laboratory studies to show that it doesn't have a long-term effect at all either. So no, no real
So,
impact on them.
Hmm.
when you tag them when you drill a hole, does any blood come out?
Sometimes, well, we try to be quick. Here's a typical tag. I don't know if
Hmm.
you can see that up close.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
cool.
it's got the tag ID, the number that you
Hmm.
call into
Hmm.
to report the tag if you find it. Actually,
Hmm.
finding the tags is great. If you actually find one and you call in or report it on the website, you get a pewter pin of a horseshoe crab from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And I want to give
Oh, wow.
Oh,
big
neat.
big props out to our colleagues at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and also
Yeah.
at the DEC, for allowing us to use these tags as part of our study. They are provided by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to us, and they don't just give them out to
Hmm.
anybody, so we really appreciate that. These tags are quickly put into the animal. We literally put a hole in them, and then we just pop it right into the hole, and that's it. It takes about maybe a couple of seconds, and if all goes well, the horse crab is right back on its way, put right back into the water,
Hmm.
as if nothing ever happened.
So you
Cool.
mentioned spending all your nights under moonlight, chasing horseshoe crabs and tagging them. So why did you get involved in this project, and why is it so important to learn about the horseshoe crabs? What's going on?
Oh, that's a lot of good reasons for that. Horseshoe crabs have been around for a really long time. I think one of the reasons I was interested in them is because I actually grew up in St. James area, and I used to frequent the local beaches in Smithtown. And when I was a little kid, maybe like 7, 8 years old, maybe like some of the viewers that you might have here on the channel, is I was kind of scared. I'd see these ancient
Yeah.
looking animals bump
Yeah.
into my feet on the local
Yeah. Yeah.
beaches, and I'd come running out of the water like,
Oh,
what was
yeah.
that? And I'd see the
Yeah. Yeah.
telson, their tail in the air,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'd
Me
be
too.
afraid to step on it. I go, oh, it's coming to poke me and stab me, and
Right. Right.
and so I was always curious about it. Then when I eventually learned about them as I got older, that they're pretty harmless, they're actually super docile. I always thought they were an interesting animal, and the more I learned about them in college, and they've been around for many, many millions of years, predating the dinosaurs, surviving, mass extinctions. It's pretty impressive. And then when I heard that they were in trouble in the '90s, the late '90s, kind of surprised me. And I was brought into a study that was being proposed by the U.S. Geological Survey, and actually my colleague at Cornell, Lauren Brousseau, was starting up at Cornell around that time, and we both got involved with a telemetry study with them, where we studied their movements and behaviors in Delaware Bay. So we went to where they really spawn in the highest numbers, which is Delaware Bay. We did a study on that got published with our colleague Dave Smith, and it was a wonderful experience, and I got hooked ever since. So it's been a lot of fun, to work with this species and to
So,
try to help protect it.
so you
Yeah.
mentioned that
So
they're in trouble, Matt, but why has their population been decreased? Is it water quality? Is it, some other factors? What's going on?
There's a lot of reasons. One of the major reasons is probably that they've been experiencing a lot of changes in their habitats. There's been a lot of loss of habitats
Hmm.
in spawning habitats. There's also been a lot of pressure on them from harvest in certain areas. They were really harvested. There were no regulations on horseshoe crabs in the 1990s.
Mhm.
And so when those regulations, without regulations, the value of them kept increasing because there was the need for them for bait to catch. I don't know if people know, but they're used as,
Probably don't.
yeah, they're used to catch American eel and channeled whelk, which are also found in our local waters. And those species have commercial value. And so for some reason, American eel and whelk really prefer the smell of horseshoe crabs as bait.
Really? That's
Yeah.
strange. I mean, they don't eat them naturally, right?
Not that we know of, no.
That's
So
weird.
it is a very strange relationship indeed.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
who was the
so
first person to like put horseshoe crab in a bait trap? Like, well, let me try this, right?
you gotta wonder. It's a good
Yeah.
question. A very good question. I mean, they've always been used in different ways over time. They were probably used as fertilizer back in the 1800s, a
Mhm.
cheap source of fertilizer, and even into the early 1900s,
Right.
until cheap man-made fertilizer came on the scene. So you just throw them on your field, and that was really easy. How someone discovered them as attractive as bait is beyond me. But the value of these things increased over time. Eventually, it got to the point where there were several dollars a piece. It was like picking up $5 bills on a
Wow.
beach, very easy to catch.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
of course, without regulations, when you have no regulations, you have typically things get over harvested,
Mhm.
whether it's intentional or not. We're not pointing fingers, but there's been a steady decline of horseshoe
Mhm.
crabs. Not only the species here, but also in Asia. Those species are really in trouble.
I've heard of a alternative bait where they're. Do you have something to do with that? It seems to be something that's a great idea. Tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. That's another great question. Unfortunately, there is no alternative bait at this moment that is being marketed.
Mhm.
It's a concept that's been being kicked around since, I guess, the early 2000s. There's been some research on them as to what the actual chemical properties are that attract the eel and the whelk. Uh, and someone has come up with a artificial bait that's a combination, still has a little bit of horseshoe crab in it, but it showed some success, but there was never really uh, a big push to use it. It wasn't really tested in a large part. So we're hoping with Cornell and some partners, Cappellino down in the Carolinas, and also maybe with some partnering organizations that are trying to help fund this. We think it's a great way to take the pressure off the stock. Um,
Right.
if there is a way that we can come up with even reducing the amount of horseshoe crab that's used as for bait through some type of alternative bait, or Kepley is developing synthetic baits. They still have to work out the formulation on that, but it would be a really nice addition and would take a lot of pressure off the fishery.
Mhm.
And if they're cheap and affordable and easy to use, Bayman would likely switch over.
Right.
So.
What's the
Well,
most rewarding part of your research?
There's many rewarding parts. I'd
Mhm.
say, working with my colleagues on this project from all over, and working with the many citizens that I participate in this project. We get over 500 or 600 citizens a year that help
wow.
monitor on a
That's
typical
great.
year. Yeah, on a
Yeah.
non-COVID year, we get a
Yeah,
lot of
right.
participation.
Wow.
Mm.
What about coming on our show?
Oh, that's always a bonus. That's got to be one of the biggest highlights, of
That's what I
my
thought.
career.
There you go.
Doesn't get much better than that.
I
So
would hope.
how many years have you been doing this research, Matt?
We're going on probably 15 years now,
Wow.
16.
Wow.
So it's a long
Yeah.
time. It started small. We had
Mhm.
1 or 2 beaches that we monitor, and currently we're up to 32 beaches.
Wow.
It just grew organically.
Mhm.
There was no real push to get more sites from us because we can't cover all of Long Island beaches.
Mhm.
Right.
So we need volunteers to adopt a site, and then when they adopt a site, it's amazing. It becomes a big plus for their programs. They get to bring in their participants. So we have a
Yeah.
lot of other non-for-profits that participate. We have a lot of other agencies
Awesome.
that participate. Then we have just the everyday citizen that just adopts a beach that they live nearby, and they love it. And in fact, there's been no advertising. it's
No
all
Wow.
been
kidding.
it's all grown on its own.
Wow.
Wow.
We have not
Wow.
solicited.
So these people all like going out at night, I guess, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of they do. It's quieter on the beach for starters.
It must be beautiful.
It's a whole different experience at nighttime. It's kind of a little eerie, electrifying. Sometimes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. When you see things in the water. Yeah, and
Rory, we're not doing sharks. That's a later.
Sorry.
It's not a shark that we've seen. We haven't seen any sharks. I've had little diamondback terrapins bump into me at night.
Okay.
That's kind of, set the hairs off on the back of me. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
But no sharks, thankfully.
Cool.
But yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool thing to be out on the beach at nighttime under the full moon.
Oh yeah.
And seeing this primordial process unfold. They literally, the horseshoe crabs come out onto the beach. They spawn right at the beach, right at your feet, and it's like Jurassic Park. It's really something. And once people do it, people that never get out into nature, once they try it, it's even if they don't, even if they're not like, oh, the biology is really interesting, they're just like, wow, that was really weird. It's something that they can post on Facebook. It's something they can post on Instagram. I did this. Check this out, and then all of a sudden it just grows from there.
Have you ever seen any bioluminescence at night?
I have, yes, lots of bioluminescence. Yeah, it's really cool. In fact, when I saw that terrapin, that was a bioluminescent night, and you could see it kind of swim off with a silhouette around it.
Wow.
Very, very pretty.
Well, you look awful tan, Matt. Now, is that from moonlight? Is that what you're getting this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I actually have this special moon cream.
No way.
Yeah, this is
right.
This enhances my color.
Yeah, right.
Very nice.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's there's actually no sun risks at nighttime, obviously.
That's good.
That's cool.
So, but I do carry this because this is actually one of the more important things to keep in my gear bag in June.
Oh yeah.
It's a mosquito repellent.
Because
it can get pretty buggy out there on a calm night in June.
Oh yeah, and you're in the marshes and everything. Oh
yeah, on the beaches around the rack lines. That's where all the bugs hang out. So can't go wrong by carrying that.
So before we let you go, Matt, I know nature things are interconnected, food chains, food webs. Horseshoe crabs, if their population is decreasing over the last few years, is it affecting any other animals or?
Well, it is. It affects. They're an important animal in the ecosystem. So they play a lot of roles for their eggs and larvae in the ecosystem, not just the adults. The eggs are actually eaten by many different species, but the most notable one is probably the migratory shorebirds, the ones that you see on the beaches, like the red knot, the ruddy turnstones, and other species that depend on their eggs. These birds, they migrate tens of thousands of miles in order to complete their life cycle. Wow. So, for instance, the red knot is a great example. There's one bird that's, travels from the tip of South America all the way to Delaware. They stop over in New York, and they do it at the exact same time that the horseshoe crabs are spawning. So when the horseshoe crabs have a good spawn, they deposit a lot of eggs on the beach. The migratory shorebirds stop over and forage on them. And then what they do is in about 2 or 3 weeks, they double and triple their body mass. And at that point, they get fat enough. And that's when they take off, when they reach a critical weight, and then they carry on to the Arctic where they fledge their young. So if they don't have enough eggs, horseshoe crabs around, it affects them. Wow. They might make the migration, but they might not fledge their young. They might have enough bioenergetics in order to make that happen, meet their bioenergetic demands. So really important that you have lots of eggs around for the for the migratory shorebirds.
Yeah, anything that kind of is off balance in nature, right? It creates another off, balance in another species. So It's really important what you're doing. Now, Matt, have we got everything? Have we covered everything? What have we missed? I mean,
I think horseshoe crabs, we could spend hours and hours on horseshoe crabs. There's just many benefits to humans. I mean, and to the ecosystem, and it's just a fascinating creature. But I think two other things is that, I think people should be aware of that horseshoe crabs really are an important species in their own lives. In my opinion, they're kind of the unsung heroes of the marine ecosystem. We actually benefit from them not only because we've learned about our own vision by studying their eyes, where Dr. Hartline won a Nobel Prize by studying horseshoe crab eyes to study tunnel vision and retinitis. And he learned about lateral inhibition and how they see the world through their compound eyes. But we've also benefited by use of their chitin, which is in their exoskeleton, for medical dressings that help heal burn victims more quickly in the hospital settings. They're
Wow.
their chitin, so like such a nice form that they've synthetically use it to produce contact lenses and dietary supplements. So it's in a lot of different things. It's in your everyday house. You just don't know it.
Hmm.
But the most important thing that horseshoe crabs benefit humans is their blood.
Mm-hmm.
Their
They have,
blood.
Right.
They have blue blood, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
The blood is
Yeah.
blue, and it's blue because it's copper based.
Mm-hmm.
It's not iron based like ours. So
Mm-hmm.
when we bleed, our blood turns red. When it oxidizes, theirs turns blue. It's a copper based. It's very it has a very high coagulant property when it encounters gram negative bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is that researchers have actually found that if they use the blood of horseshoe crabs to synthesize it into a compound known as LAL, which is a limulus amoebocyte lysate. It's a mouthful.
Can you spell that?
Yeah, right. LAL. How's that?
I like it.
There you go.
Yeah,
An acronym.
LAL.
Okay.
That's the easy way to know it.
Sure.
That blood has been turned around and used as a diagnostic. It's the FDA gold standard to protect us from harmful pathogens like bacteria getting into us, which is a very relevant topic at this particular time in history. Even though coronavirus is a virus, we're talking about bacteria, which are can cause you to go septic and also be very harmful. So anything that is required to be intravenously injected or medically implanted in you, so these can include vaccines or hip or knee replacements. They're all required by the FDA to be tested for the rapid detection of bacteria by horseshoe crab blood.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
That's
so
cool.
we need them around in order to stay healthy.
Sure.
And my message to folks is, when you see horseshoe crabs on your local beaches, don't step on them. Don't just walk by them.
Right.
Next time you see one, you should be walking over to it, give it a hug, and say thank you for keeping me safe and healthy, especially at this time.
Right.
Yeah. And don't pick them up by the tail. Right.
Right.
You don't want to do this.
Very important.
You don't want to do this.
Right. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, this is actually a molt. This is a shell.
A molt.
Yeah, when they grow, they actually shed their carapace or molt. But this is a little juvenile horseshoe crab. Don't pick it up by the tail, because if the tail snaps off, they lose their ability to tell time.
Right.
And they also
tell time.
Yeah, they can tell time. They can keep their endogenous rhythms with these sensors on their tail.
Really?
They also use it as a rudder, but they need it to flip themselves back over when they're on spawning. They get washed over by the waves, and they use the tail to pivot upside down.
Yeah. I tell school kids, Matt, when I tell them about horseshoe crabs, I said, you don't pick them up by the tail, as you said.
Yep.
I said, who has a dog? And they, I got a dog. Well, you don't grab your dog by the tail and carry your dog around, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, when I was over at the Shinnecock Indian Reservation doing some videotaping, and I don't know if you remember this, but there was all these, like, what I thought dead horseshoe crabs all around, and I called you up right away, and I'm like, Matt, what's going on?
Oh, yeah.
You go, calm down, Rory. They're just molts, okay?
There you go. That's right.
There was a lot of them. I was really shocked at that, so.
Oh, sure. I get those phone calls every year, Rory. Every year. I get, especially it happens around the end of August, September, when they molt. And so there's tons of molts on the beaches, especially on the South Shore bays, like Shinnecock, Mauritius Bay. Oh boy, you see a lot. And people are like, oh, they're all dead. I'm like, no, it's actually check to see if they're really light. It's a good thing.
That's a good sign. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. They're healthy.
Yeah.
Man, so thank you very much, Matt. This is a lot of information. I think, Mark and I aren't even going to talk much after this, because you said it all,
He did. Yeah.
Maybe we'll show a video, or something, but we really appreciate it.
Sure.
Good stuff.
Thank you, man. Well, it's always good to talk to you all. And, if you have some video footage that you want me to comment on, I could easily do that for you guys, or come back at another time. I'd love to encourage people to participate in our survey, but unfortunately we just can't involve volunteers at this time.
Yeah, not this year. Maybe next year.
But if you go down to the beach with your local family, keep an eye out for them. Look for tags. You maybe find a tag and get a reward.
Nice.
So, is there a website or anything like that we can plug for you, Matt?
Yes.
For information.
Yeah, there is. It's www.nyhorseshoecrab.org. nyhorseshoecrab.org. So that has all the information about our our program and how people can participate. It's very straightforward. We're going to be updating that website in the near future, but
Okay.
that's it. They can get that.
Anything on our site at all? CC
There is
Suffolk?
there is some. CC Suffolk has a little bit of information about it, and then they point us to that website. They point.
And who are your funders that are important?
Yeah, sure. Well, New York State DEC is the primary funder of this, and we can't do it without them. They're excellent partners. We also partner with Stony Brook on this. Dr. Rob Serrato and his graduate students, and many of the graduate students also that have participated over the years, the MCP program at Stony Brook, and then also many of my colleagues at Stony Brook have been involved in it. Of course, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for providing us with the tags. So, and we have so many great partners. The list is long.
Yeah.
The list is
Okay.
long.
Okay.
All right.
And I thank them all. Program's not possible without any of those people.
Right.
Well,
right.
thank you, Matt. We enjoyed having you on the program, and obviously, we actually had you on the show when we did our Alewife program, 5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Without you even knowing.
I know. And I know you do other projects besides horseshoe crabs and alewives, so maybe we can have you on again sometime.
That sounds great. Love to.
All right. Yep. Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks a
All right,
lot.
have a great night.
You too.
All right. Take care.
Take care. All right. Bye.
Okay. So that's our shoe for this week. Thanks for joining us. Next week we'll be talking about aquaculture and specifically about oysters. If you want more information about our horseshoe crab program, then go to our CCE Marine website at ccesuffolk.org/marine. Look for our digital education initiative link on the lower left part of the page. Now, we've been putting together some teacher and student resources, art initiatives, quizzes, and some really good and informative videos. See you next time.